Netflix, episode 5, part 1 finale, the best of the best of the best of the best. And it's your boy Icon with a Netflix series review for you, going over part 1, well, concluding part 1 of that Cobra Kai. And as always, before we get started, hit that notification bell, check me out on social media, subscribe to my channel, like, and all that good stuff. And let's get started because this one was actually very deep. It's sad too. Like, it was exciting, but it was sad because like it starts off with Tori, and she's at the doctor talking to the doctor about her mother. And her mother was saying that her condition was actually regressing and that she was getting better. She even applauded Tori for actually doing such a good job of taking care of her mother, and it looked like her mother was on the road to recovery. While she was in the parking lot headed home, she ran up, Sensei Kreese ran up on her, and he was like, I've just come to check on my student and to bring you back to Cobra Kai. And then she was like, no, because in the last season, when she was kind of like spiraling out of control, she went to the prison to go talk to Sensei Kreese, and he kind of like blew her off, which is how she basically ended up in the hands of Miyagi-Do. So then when Kreese saw that she was a member of Miyagi-Do, he was just like, oh, the shame. He's like, you've gone to the enemy. But it's just like, dude, but you weren't there. You know what I'm saying? And like the enemy picked her up. And then he started planting like all these things in her brain because he's just like, oh, he said, you think they're your friends, but they're not your friends. And eventually they'll turn on you. He said that Russo will never allow you to shine above his own child, and it's only a matter of time before they pick her over you. So now he's planting seeds in her head. So, you know, she's just like, no, they're my friends, and she told him to kick rocks, and then, like, she walks away. Unfortunately, things with her mother actually progressively got worse after that. So they were doing the thing where they have to pick the 2 captains for the Sekai Taikai. And obviously the top 4 students is Miguel, Robbie, Tori, and Sam. So they said that the girls are going to fight the girls, the guys are going to fight the guys, and the winners are going to become the 2 captains. So now it's like we're back to like head-to-head competition. And because of during that whole process, while Tori was trying to prepare to fight Sam, you know, for the captainship, because for her, like she was saying to Robbie, for the 2 of them, college isn't really is an option for them. So she said that the 2 of them have to become captains because the spotlight will be on them. And like Daniel said, if it turns out that we need like a final decision or like a tie-breaking type situation, which now that he said that it's going to happen, he said that the 2 captains are the ones that are going to have to fight the tiebreaker. So, we'll get to that. Get to that later. So now we're in a situation. So now, like we're in a situation where like everything's riding on this for both Robbie and you know, and for Tori. Like things are like really, 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 really crucial for them. And unfortunately, during that time period, Tori went home, and then when she went home, she found her mom passed out on the floor. Took her to the hospital. The doctors said that her mother ended up getting blood clots. She said that her condition was getting better, but unfortunately she ended up with blood clots, so they have to keep her in the hospital and they have to treat her. So now she's like all emotional and she's spiraling out of control. Meanwhile, tomorrow she has to go fight Sam to decide who becomes captain. Everybody tried to call her. Nobody could get a hold of her. She basically ghosted the entire valley. While all this is happening, Robbie and Miguel are going through their whole thing because Miguel didn't get into the school that he wanted. He needs the eyes on him as captain of the Sekai Taikai because he wants to use that cachet, because if he ends up becoming a captain and then he wins and becomes like the best fighter in the world, he was hoping that'll put the eyes back on him to get into the college that he wants. Robbie at this point, he's just trying to like prove that he's not like the greatest runner-up of all time, because every time he's in a big fight situation, every time he's in a big tournament situation, he always comes in second place. He never actually wins. So for him, it's more like a pride thing. So the 2 of them are basically gearing up for this. While they're doing all that, Daniel and Johnny are going back and forth because Johnny has embraced Miyagi-Do, but with an Eagle Fang spin on it. And ever since Daniel found out about that information about Mr. Miyagi, ever since he found out about the chess, he hasn't really, like, he's very strict now about following Miyagi-Do to like the letter, and he's not happy with some of the things that Lawrence was putting into play. So then Johnny picked up on it, and then he kind of felt like Lorenzo was trying to push him out. He was just like, oh, we're supposed to be a team. We're supposed to do this together. He was like, but you're trying to like move me out of the mix. You're trying to like take over. And he was like, well, I don't appreciate what you're doing, where you're twisting the Miyagi-Do and everything. So 2 of them kind of got into it as well. And then when like this whole big thing, like Johnny made this whole big thing out of it, and then he was like, oh, I'm gonna quit the car dealership and everything. But the wife brought them both together, like talked them both off the ledge, and then they agreed to put their differences aside, and just to make sure that things remain fair, amongst, the whole thing, because Johnny was just like, oh, you just want your kids to succeed, and he was just like, oh, you're going to be biased against your own son and blah, blah, blah. So to make things fair, they decided that Daniel was going to be the referee for the boys match and Johnny was going to be the referee for the girls match. So this way, like, there's no bias. So now we get to the point where the fight's about to happen. And just before the fight happens, like Robbie and Miguel, they go first. Tori's still not there. Robbie and Miguel have an awesome fight. It was basically the fight that they had in the housing complex. Only difference was there were no walls for them to bounce off of. And Miguel went up a quick 2-0 on him. But then Robbie, like his confidence was shaken, but then Tori ended up showing up. When Tori showed up, he got his second win back because his girl's here now. He has to, his dad being there wasn't enough. So his girl being there lit a fire under him. And then he came back 3 straight, and he ended up beating Miguel. For the first time, I would have to say, because I don't remember him actually beating Miguel. There was when Miguel had, the back problem, but, I don't really count that. So anyway, so he actually, got the victory over Miguel, so he got the vengeance that he so desperately craves. And, Miguel was cool about it. They bumped fists, shook hands, whatever. And now, Robbie, he's the men's team captain for the Sekai Taikai. So then now that Tori showed up, her and Sam go at it. And Tori's all emotional now, thinking about her mom. She's upset over the fact that Kreese tried to run up on her, so she's just like an emotional ball. But she's trying to use the fight to work through all that anger. She was being a little dirty at one point because there was a point where she scored a point on Sam, and then she snuck in an extra kick, and then that's when everybody was like, something's wrong. But then LaRusso's wife ended up getting a call from the hospital, and I guess they had her number because I believe there was a point where LaRusso's wife was actually mentoring Tori or something like that. Because when they called, I was like, how the hell did they get her number? But they got her number. And during the fight, Daniel tried to stop the fight. And then Johnny was like, bro, I thought we went past all this. I thought we came to an understanding. He said, I'm the referee. Why are you trying to stop the fight? And then he was just like, we just need... And Daniel did a very poor job of trying to explain that. He could have just pulled Lawrence to the side and said, hey, I just found out that Tori's mother died. But he was just like, oh, we'll just talk about... He was like, oh, let's just stop the fight and I'll explain it later. I'm like, who's going to fall for that? Johnny was like, no. He was like, tell me what's wrong. But then Tori knew. She was like, oh, he wants to stop the fight because my mother died. She knew it was coming. She unfortunately, she knew it was coming. That's when Danny was just like, yeah, he was like, I'm sorry. And then everybody tried to get Tori to stop fighting. They tried to talk her off. They said, listen, we can do the fight later. We'll come up with something. But she kept saying, no, I need the fight. I need to fight. This is what I want. This is what I want. But everybody was just like, oh, even the wife, she came over and she was just like, you're not in the right headspace to have this fight right now. And she's like, no, you just don't want me to beat your daughter. Because now she's mad at everybody. But then the crazy thing about it is, while everybody was trying to talk her off the ledge and trying to talk her, even Sam was like, we don't have to do this now. While everybody was trying to talk her out of the fight, Johnny was the only person who was like, yo, let her fight. Because he asked him, he was just like, Sensei Lawrence, he's like, could you please say something to her? He was like, well, if the girl wants to fight, let her fight. Because he was smart enough to know that yes, she is an emotional wreck, and yes, she just found out something very devastating. But he also knew, because of the emotional state that she was in, fighting was probably the only way she could work through it. So Lawrence was like, listen, if she wants to fight, let her fight. But then Daniel was like, no. And then Tori just got mad and she was like, fuck it. She was like, you don't want me to fight? She was like, yo, I quit, kiss my ass, and I'm out. So then Daniel and Johnny got into it in the Miyagi dojo, and he was just like, oh, because he told him, he was like, listen, the girl was trying to work through her anger. And then he said that when I lost my mom, all I wanted to do was fight. He was like, that's how you deal with it. But he was like, oh, that's not the Miyagi way. And then he was like, fuck the Miyagi way. He's like, I'm sick of hearing about this bullshit. And he's like, Miyagi wasn't even a saint. He was like, the man has blood on his hands. He used to do boxing, for Christ's sake. And it's like, you didn't even know him at all. And then Daniel got mad and punched Johnny in the face. And to Johnny's credit, he actually kept a cool head. He kept a cool head. And he was just like, no, he's like, I'm not going to beat your ass in front of your kids in your own dojo. He said, I tried to embrace this shit for the sake of the children. I'm going to continue to partner with you. And then once we win the Sekai Taikai, me and you, we're done. I'm out this bitch. He's like, I ain't doing this no more. And then Daniel felt bad. And then, but the two of them, they were able to put their differences aside. And then it looks like Sam is the women's captain. Robbie's the men's captain. They ended up giving Hawk Tori's spot because they just assumed she wasn't coming back. So Hawk is going instead of... And I'm actually very upset about that because it should have been Kenny. It honestly, legitimately should have been Kenny. Or at least Hawk and Kenny should have fought for the final spot. But Kenny wasn't even in the episode because they were just like, oh, where's Kenny? And they said nobody's heard from him. And then now Devin feels bad because she's the reason why he disappeared. I do have a theory on what happened to Kenny, but we'll get to that in a second. When they chose the captains, they had 2 special captain headbands that they were going to present to them. So Johnny puts the headband on his son, And then when Daniel goes to put the headband on his daughter, he looks at the headband and something looked familiar. So then he ran back to the Miyagi chase, like where Miyagi had like all his belongings hidden in the thing. He goes into the case and then he pulls out a headband that has the exact same logo pattern on it, but it also has blood all over it as well. And now Daniel's like, shit, Mr. Miyagi actually fought in the Sekai Taikai, which he said at one point, he said that Mr. Miyagi didn't like tournaments. And it's like, yeah, he probably didn't like them because he entered one, almost killed somebody, and now he's just like, yo, I'll never do this again, Daniel said. So things with that are getting a little deep, but you know, he didn't bring that up. He didn't bring it up after. He didn't mention that to anybody else, but now he knows that Miyagi fought in the Sekai Taikai. So then now everybody, they go off to Barcelona, Spain, which was probably like some random studio in California. They go to Barcelona, Spain, and then while everybody's there, Hawk is there. Still no mention of Kenny. Kenny never got brought up. And then when all the representatives from the dojos are there, the very last dojo that entered the room is Cobra Kai. And as soon as they walked in the room, you could see on Johnny and on Dane's face, they were like, no, like it cannot be. Cobra Kai has returned. And then when Cobra Kai's there, you know, Miss Kim, she's there. You know, Sensei Kreese is there. Now, I'm saying this for a reason. 3 representatives from Cobra Kai were there. It was, I forgot the dude's name already. Like, the guy that whooped everybody's ass and became the leader. It was him, the guy who was the former leader, and some random third person. But then the 4th person that walked up as a member of the Cobra Kai team was Tori. And then everybody, like Sam couldn't even look her in the eye. Like that's how dejected she was. And because it makes sense, because due to the emotional state that Tori was in, something like Cobra Kai, when they teach you to strike first, hit hard, that level of anger and aggression is what she needs in the moment to get through that. And she could have gotten through that with Lawrence, but Daniel fucked it up. So now she done went rogue, and now she's a member of Cobra Kai. However, it's supposed to be 6 representatives. For Cobra Kai, we've only seen 4. And there's one person who's still unaccounted for. And the 5th or 6th member of Cobra Kai is probably going to be Kenny. Because Kreese got to him. Like, I'm calling it now. Kreese got to Kenny. He was just like, oh, they set you up. You know, like, you'll never be one of them. Come on home to Cobra Kai. So now, because my whole thing from the beginning was, I wanted Devin and Kenny to both be on the team, but I also recognized that Hawk and Dimitri as like main character actors, you basically have 8 main characters in 6 spots. So 2 people are going to end up on the other side. So Tori and Kenny are going to end up on Cobra Kai, representing that Cobra Kai. And then Devin and Kenny are never going to fight, but there's probably going to be a moment where Devin's just like, oh my God, like this is all my fault. And then she'll have remorse and she'll tell somebody what happened. But that was it. Like, and part 1 ends with Tori joining Cobra Kai. And then we're going to find out Kenny's on the team when part 2 starts November 15th. So that means it takes place after New York Comic Con, which gives me time to purchase some actual Cobra Kai merch. That was how part 1 ended, and thank you for tuning in. So this is very interesting. And as I said, I was just waiting for the tournament to get started, so we're here now. So part 2, because it's going to be 3 parts, part 2 is basically going to be all about the Sekai Taikai, so we should conclude the Sekai Taikai at the end of part 2, and then part 3 is going to be like wrapping up all the storylines and like all this mumbo jumbo. But as I said, it's cool. Like, it's interesting. Like, I'm down for this. I want to see where this is going, and I hope you all take the ride with me and continue to watch some Cobra Kai. So check me out on social media, on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, where you can leave your questions, comments, and concerns. Don't forget X. Like I said, let me know what you think about this particular episode. Do you think Kenny's going to be the 5th and 6th member of Cobra Kai? Is Tori going to end up fighting Sam in the finals now? Like, you know, what's the whole thing with Robbie and Miguel? Is Miguel going to prove to be a champion of all champions? So listen, share your questions, and we'll continue to talk about it, because this shit is actually getting really good. But check out my other reviews, because I got Batman Cape Crusader up on my channel. I got Suicide Squad Isekai, which is about to end next Thursday, and I also got Kite Man for all you as well, until we got some new stuff coming up later on in the year, a couple of months now later on. Like I said, so we got Tomb Raider coming up, and check out my other reviews, my other videos, and my other convention stuff as well. So that was it, guys. So thank you for tuning in. So till November 15th, when we continue to review part 6 of Cobra Kai, take care. Don't sell out to the Cobra, because we're out this bitch.